this government is to make Mauritius a high-end income economy that is embracing a brighter future together as a nation. 5 years, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. 5 years, we are still stuck in the middle of an income trap. I say clearly, in the middle of an income trap. The economic projections of this government was to have a GDP of 5.7% by 2017, but unfortunately, the GDP growth hasn't even exceeded to 4% for the fiscal year. This shows the total fight of this government and the policies adopted over the past years. One thing that the government seems to have championed is to make big, mega announcements which disappear budget after budget. Mr. Deputy Speaker, coming to the budget 2019-2020, the population was expecting something that would give a wow effect, especially as we are on the eve of a general election. Many projects announced with high targets will end up on paper only. There might be some electoralist measures just pour faire la bouche douce. How many of them will be implemented? 4 years, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Many projects are still theories, no implementation. Many of my colleagues on the other side of the House, especially the Honorable Prime Minister, they are very fond of the cinematographic industry. They refer very often to that industry. Thus, that is why we keep seeing only trailers, but we never get to see the whole movie. Or it's written, coming soon. How do we expect, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that within 6 months we will have a second economic miracle as promised by this government? Let alone the Honorable Prime Minister with his team, not even David Copperfield will be able to embrace a brighter future together as a nation in less than 6 months. The population is undoubtedly a better judge at the end of the day, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I do not see how this budget will make a difference in the lives of the common man. The devil in this budget, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, may not lie so much in the announcement, but rather into the measures hidden behind them. This government has always and again been over-promising and under-delivering when it comes to public sector debts, which was supposed to be brought to around 63% of the GDP by the end of June 2019. The share of foreign debt in total public sector debt was to be brought down by 18% from 19.5% in the last fiscal year. But government has failed to achieve its objectives. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this government is speaking in terms of having recourse to the Reserve Bank of Mauritius, which will go to the extent of amending the law to tap the savings of several generations of Mauritians. And what is worse, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is that this government may soon face a situation where it may have to sell government's assets to finance the Panadol electoralist measures within a debt of some 330 billion plus by 2020. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we have seen what has happened in Greece. This morning, during the P&Q, we heard what happened to Seychelles, Argentina in 2010 had used its central bank reserve to repay the debts, with the result that the country has gone in recession. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this budget is trying to please everybody and to avoid critics, but it does not bring anything in terms of innovation or how to face the forthcoming challenges. And to support my above claim, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to provide to the House some key indications from some international independent organizations. And I will start with the Index of Economic Freedom, which says in year 2014, we were ranked 8th, but today, in year 2019, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we are at the 25th position. In terms of social progress, Maurice was ranked 34 in the year 2014, and today we are at the 43rd position. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, worse, it is sad to note that as per the Global Hunger Index, which assesses the nutrition situation in the country, we are now ranked 47 as compared to the years before 2014, where we were amongst the first 6 countries where our citizens were not having nutritional issues. In terms of innovation, we have shrunk from the rank of 40 to 75 as per the Global Innovation Index. Coming to the core of the budget, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that is budget 2019-2020, when we listened to the Honorable Prime Minister last Monday, we had the impression that many measures, many projects were already there in previous budgets, exercises, as if only the years and the dates changed. Honorable Babu elaborated a lot of these measures that were there in the previous budget and which we could see this year too. So I'm not going to elaborate on them, not to waste the time of the House. It was just like a copy-paste, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. In this budget, the Minister of Finance has announced the creation of a new category of enterprises whose turnover are between 50 million to 250 million. Why this measure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir? What are we trying to achieve here? Let us take the case of the SME sector, which employs some 255,000 people and which contributes to 40% of our GDP. The Minister of Finance has affirmed that as we grow our GDP, we must also make it inclusive. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, they were at the heart of our democratization policy before announcing that the budget for small and medium enterprises will be around 45 million over a year. Is it all that the government will provide to the entire SME sector? There seems to be gross injustice against these small players. The micro-credit loan scheme, which, so to say, has been increased from 250,000 to 500,000 for instance, is already an existing measure. women entrepreneurs were already entitled to the credit of 500,000 rupees. Announcing it as a new measure is misleading the population. Another measure that the Honorable Minister announced is a new category of SMEs. The law in Mauritius, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, defines SMEs as those enterprises which have a turnover of less than 50 million rupees. The new category will only be in favor of big ones. Coming to the payment of an interim monthly allowance of 1,000 rupees to the public officers as from 1st January 2020, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, there was a legitimate expectation that following the introduction of the minimum wage, certain anomalies and adjustments might have had to be addressed, which had not been done so far. Another question that arises: will public officers be paid their compensations on and above the 1,000 rupees? Will the 1,000 rupees advance have an impact on their final revised salary following the PRB? And Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, what about our fellow countrymen from the private sector who equally create the wealth of this country? Are we not doing deux poids, deux mesures, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir? Are these people another category of citizens who do not deserve an increase in their salary? I am sure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, both public and private officers will make their own deductions. Coming to the Portable Retirement Gratuity Fund, to be introduced in a much-needed measure to encourage labor mobility and safeguard the interests of workers, especially at a time whereby layoffs have become a common feature in Mauritius. Here again, Mr. Deputy Speaker, my question will be, is it applicable equally to public officers? Have all its implications been carefully thought? Or will it not remain an effet d'annonce? Coming to another measure which was announced last Monday, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that is the increase in the monthly carers allowance from 3,000 rupees to 3,500 for some 23 bedridden pensioners, and the extension of domiciliary visits of doctors for persons aged 75 years older and older. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, would it not have been better had the government extended this measure to all bedridden persons of any age? I am very happy, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that our elders will receive an increase of 500 rupees in their pensions. But I fail to understand, however, the rationale for the increase being payable only as from January 2020. Our senior citizens have also the right to know whether the 500 rupees payable as from January 2020 is inclusive of compensation for the year, or will the compensation be added on top of the 500 rupees? Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, our elderly were expecting to have a higher increase. Ils sont restés sur leur faim. Any support extended to them should be genuine and true, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. We should recognize their contributions in the development of the country and not as a vote bank. I'm sure in the same way, the fishermen could also legitimately expect some more decent treatment from this government. The budget also proposes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, to recruit some 528 employees in the health sector. With the by-election that is supposed to come and general election is looming around, does the population not need to know when this recruitment can feasibly be done? We all know recruitments and promotions are frozen by law once the election is being declared, and we will probably have 2 or maybe 3 elections soon. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the population has the right to know whether or not they are being taken for a ride. This government claimed that it will focus on our youth and their future. It was to develop a comprehensive approach to equip them with the right set of skills and to integrate the labor market of now and tomorrow. We even heard, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that there will be 2 jobs per person. What we see today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is that the Skill Development Authority is still a proposal in this budget. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, allow me to say that I personally do not find anything concrete in this budget to fight against the consumption of hard drugs, which seems to have already assumed epidemic proportions in our country. Is it not the time for Mauritius to be more human towards its sick people? Drug consumption, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is a sickness and should be treated accordingly. Of course, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am not in favor of drug consumption, not at all. But I am convinced that we should have been more compassionate towards those trapped in the consumption of same. On another note, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would say that there are about some 85% of convicts who recidivate and return to prison because of the stigma attached to them, and very often for minor offenses. Isn't it not the time for the government to renew morality certificates so that these people have the possibility to reintegrate our society? Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, one thing I cannot deny, and I should say, I am pleasantly surprised and thankful that following to a similar PQ that I addressed to the Right Honourable Minister Mentor on 14th May last, concerning the issue of amending the Reform Institution Act so that murder will be included as category not to be eligible for remission or release on parole, and that this budget has, it seems that in this budget it is addressed. Another measure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that we welcome in this budget is to have at least one woman on the board of directors. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we at the PMSD, we strive to put women first. Our slogan for the Women's League is Femmes en avant. Anything that we do for women that puts women first is welcome. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, how many women will be concerned with this measure? And again here, this government has missed a golden opportunity. An opportunity to amend the law in order to allow more women representation in Parliament. It could have been done this time, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir.
There is consensus.
When there is consensus, we all agree on this side of the House. Again, this means that this government never had the intentions to do so. It was just for the sake of mentioning it, putting it in the electoral bill, reform bill, and it became a non-event. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, allow me now to come on the agricultural sector. The government has announced that only for the financial year 2019-2020, planters will be paid 25,000 rupees per ton of sugar. Investing in sugar cane is a long-term investment, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. People look for certainty of return on their investment. I really fail to understand on how a one-off measure or a piecemeal measure will encourage planters to return to their fields. One-off. They were all shattered, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with this measure. Yes, maybe some would say, better something than nothing. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this 25,000 rupees sounds good only to the ears. And here I would like to quote Shakespeare. Unfortunately, my good friend Honorable Ratna is not here. Just to
Shakespeare reborn. Shakespeare
just to make the population understand how these sugar planters got shattered, and I will quote: "Had I no eyes, but ears, my ears would love. Though neither eyes nor ears to hear nor see, yet I should be in love by touching thee." Which means, Mr. Deputy Speaker, only hearing it, but when I will touch it, the 25,000 rupees will be nothing, and I will explain why. I will explain why this government is playing politics with the poor planters and in no way will alleviate their sufferings. Let's do small calculations together. I'm sure many of us here must have friends or people, families, relatives who are planters, and they would understand what we want to say. My point. Assuming, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, an extraction rate of 10%, there is a need for 14 to 15 tons of cane. 14 to 15 tons of cane to produce 1 ton of sugar. I'm sure the media also will understand what I'm saying. The cost of harvesting, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, turns around 1,500 rupees per ton. The cost for 15 tons turn out to be around 21,000 rupees. The net profit thus will be only 4,000 rupees, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. 4,000 rupees per ton of sugar, and that's it. And on top of it, the planters, they will have to invest some 50,000 rupees per acre of land as initial investment. This investment may last for some 5 years, and planters, they will have to reinvest again. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, would it not have been better to index the payment made to planters on all value added of sugarcane processing, including value generated from the production of alcohol, ethanol, rum, vinegar, etc.? And above all, electricity produced from bagasse. I am afraid, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this measure of 25,000 rupees per ton of sugar announced en grand fanfare has not and will not, unfortunately, encourage small planters to go back to their fields. In fact, small planters should not have expected any better from this government, which has all throughout its mandate been taken them for a ride. The small planter community will not forget the case debated in this August assembly about the alleged fraudulent manipulation by the Mauritius Sugar Insurance Fund Board of the sugar production data for small planters, depriving some 10,000 sugarcane planters of a rightful compensation for the crop year 2017, amounting to some 450 million rupees, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. 450 million rupees, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. It was a daylight robbery. And thanks to whom? Thanks to whom that this daylight robbery came up? Well, it was through the leader of the opposition. Thanks, yes, you're right. Thanks to the actual honorable leader of the opposition, who did and does a job, who does his job sans peur ni frayeur. And we shall continue to do our job as it should be. The budget claims that it will be providing funds under cane replantation program to encourage planters to bring their lands back under cultivation, but fails to say how much funds. Whereas in budget 2017-2018, page 11, section 67, it was mentioned that, and I quote, we need to address the issue of abandonment of cane lands. To that extent, a provision of 50 million is being made for bringing back under cane cultivation at least 500 hectares in fiscal year 2017-2018. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, at that time there was a figure of 50 million mentioned. But today, 2019, 2020, we come up again with more or less the same measure, a copy-paste, but without any amount. In this budget, there is a provision of 15 million rupees for the MCIE to acquire equipment for harvesting sugarcane for small planters. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, je reste perplexe sur cette somme. What do we expect in 15 million as equipment for small planters, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir? Come on, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. There is a limit. They came up on fanfare saying that they will give this, that, and giving only earmarking only 15 million for equipment. What equipment? What equipment are you going to buy with only 15 million rupees? And I'm sure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, time will tell, this is just an effet d'annonce. What is, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we want to know, the agricultural stakeholders, they want to know, what is the policy direction in this sector? Was it not the time? I say was because the time is over for the government. That is why I'm saying, was it not the time for this government to come up with a master plan to transform the sugar sector? This government is just trying to manage perceptions of the public without taking any bold and concrete measure to addressing a fundamental problem affecting one of the pillars of our economy. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, year in, year out, the government since 4 years comes up with more or less the same measure in the agricultural sector. Sheltered farming, road tax allowances, waiving or reducing loans, allocating of grants and schemes, etc., etc. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, but what have we achieved today? What have we achieved today in this sector? 40 planters, a lot, not a lot, but a few lands were mentioned on that day. Many measures have been taken since the past years. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, at the end of the day, a packet of tea, 500 grams, on the shelves of supermarket is around 160 to 200 rupees, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. We are giving so many subsidies. La boisson que les Mauriciens prennent le plus est le thé, Monsieur le Vice-président. And we still buy a packet of tea, 200 rupees. And we are saying that, yes, we are going to brighten our future. I think it's the time for the government to consider to subsidize tea as it is being done for rice and flour. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this government seems to be very insensitive to the major challenges concerning food security. Every time there is a cyclone or heavy rainfall, there is a rise in price of vegetables and fruits. Since 2014, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, there has been a drastic decrease in strategic crops production, such as potatoes, onions, and garlics. The livestock sector, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, milk production, meat production are in the worst situation, and some are about to disappear, if not already disappeared. There are so many problems to be addressed in the non-sugar sector which have been left behind, like labor problems, the impact of climate change on the livelihood of farmers, and so on. Recently, I heard that onion seeds producers are subsidizing onion seeds at 2,000 rupees a kilo to onion ware producers. As Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, they are being paid 5,500 rupees kilo instead of getting their proposed price, 7,500 rupees per kilo. What about welfare animal in this budget, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir? It is, we can see on social medias, on newspapers, cruelty on animals. Is it not the time to tighten the law to fight against cruelty against animals? Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, considering all this, I should say that there is an urgent need to revamp this industry. This industry, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is not functioning as it should be. Is it because there is too much of nepotism in this industry? Last Friday, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, Honorable Minister Seewocksing gave us a long lecture about Tikopet Kopin when he was talking on Betamax. A long lecture. The very next day, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that is on Saturday, 15th June 2019, an article appeared on Le Défi Plus, and I would like to quote the newspaper, with your permission, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, where it refers, and I quote. It's a long page. I won't read it all.
Are you quoting the full page?
No. I wish I could, but I leave it to the people to go and find Le Défi of Saturday. You can reach the full page, but I'll try to have 1 or 2 paragraphs just to make my point, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I can table it if you want as well. The title itself says, les ex-collègues de Seewocksing prennent l'ascendant. La séparation du MSI-ORI de la MCIA donnerait des avantages conséquents à certains ex-collègues du ministre de l'Agro-Industrie, ce qui soulève plusieurs interrogations, surtout que le ministre a déjà placé des camarades et anciens collègues à des postes de responsabilité. Depuis qu'il occupe le portefeuille de l'agro-industrie, Maurice a procédé à la nomination de bon nombre de ses proches et anciens collègues à des postes importants. Parmi, on retrouve plusieurs anciens du Maurice Sugar Industry Research Institute, MSI-ORI, où il a travaillé pendant de nombreuses années. Du coup, quand le ministère exprime l'intention de séparer le MSI-ORI de la Maurice Scale Industry Authority, on commence immédiatement à se poser des questions. Plusieurs des employés du MSI-ORI, décrits comme des proches collègues de Maurice Seewocksing à l'époque où il y était secrétaire comptable, dans les années 90, jusqu'à sa démission en 2005 pour se porter candidat pour le mouvement socialiste militant, MSM, ont été propulsés à des postes de responsabilité sous le ministère de l'Agro-Industrie. D'autres encore ont la possibilité d'améliorer.
Honorable Seewocksing, I asked you a question whether you are reading the whole
No,
article or are you quoting from the article. Please quote.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, it's my time. Mr.
I'm not forbidding you from quoting, but please don't read the full article.
Go to the interesting parts.
I do.
Yes,
I do obey to your ruling, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. But it is just the paragraph. I'm not reading the whole page. It is just this small paragraph. So I will stop. But one thing interesting, I cannot miss this, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I will fail into my duty if I do not do this, because I am standing here as an MP, and I should say what is not good. So, in the article, c'est lien de parenté. Le beau-frère est le principal agent. Dans le passé, les nominations des proches du ministre ont déjà fait polémique. En octobre 2015, Jagdish Bandhu, I heard there's another one. Le beau-frère du ministre est nommé CEO de la MCIA. Il travaillait à la Mauritius Sugar Authority avant la fusion avec la MCIA. Mahan Siratan a nié toute intervention dans son recrutement. Il a par contre reconnu avoir recruté son principal agent, Bhagwat Domu, pour le poste de General Manager de la Mauritius Meat Authority. Ce dernier est le propriétaire d'une quincaillerie à Grand Sable et le ministre avait expliqué à l'époque qu'il avait fait du headhunting plutôt qu'un appel d'offres. I better stop here. I better stop here, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, because... No, I better stop here. Let the people, let the population judge, and they will say for themselves.
Order, please.
Let's come to another sector, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. One of the vital economic pillars of our country is the ICT sector. And very briefly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would like to say I do not find anything convincing that will make this sector prosper. Concerning the implementation of ICT in the education sector, for instance, it is announced that Université des Mascareignes will offer a master's in artificial intelligence and robotics in collaboration with l'Université de Limoges and Université de Nice, which seems to be good. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we have heard similar measures before, and more precisely with the Polytechnic Réjoui campus, which was supposed to offer courses in middle management, ICT, and ICT-related fields, announced en fanfare again in 2015. But at present, only 2 basic diploma courses, 2 Microsoft and 1 Oracle program for unemployed graduates are being run. Referring to the Masters in Artificial Intelligence at the Université des Mascareignes, I still could not understand whether this measure will benefit the Mauritian youth, as it is clearly mentioned that a post-study work visa will be granted to allow international students to work for 3 years in Mauritius after completion of undergraduate studies in sectors where there is scarcity of skills such as ICT, FinTech, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology. With this measure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I see more foreign students coming to Mauritius, which is good in a way for our economic growth, but not good at all for our local ICT graduates. Regarding inclusiveness of innovation, I was initially quite pleased to hear that some 11,000 families who are on the social register will be given totally free access to internet. We hope, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that the service provided will have enough speed to allow for effective use and not merely ensure that connections will be provided. It would have been wiser to merge an IT equipment loan scheme to assist such families into the purchase of laptops and computers with free internet. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, it is clear that our tourism industry had been on the decline since few years and is in crisis. The leader of the opposition lengthily debated on the actual situation and gave his suggestions. When he was Minister of Tourism, the industry was at its peak. Many measures that is found in the budget today, 2019-2020, were already there when Honorable Xavier Duval was Minister. Incentive for the mice market, cruise tourism, cleanliness campaign, air corridor. I'll be very brief, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Today, they are trying to prove that Ils sont en train de réinventer la roue. Oh, this happened at the time of Honorable Xavier Luc Duval. He was the right person at the right place. And not only in the Ministry of Tourism, be it in other ministries. Oh, Deputy Prime Minister. He worked with great wisdom. Even Rodriguez today is fearing Honorable Xavier Luc Duval. He got a one-way ticket. And now we can see the kind of job he delivers as leader of the opposition. Since he has taken office, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the population has been aware of many scandals and frauds in different sectors. Along with him, we members of the PMSD didn't fear to leave the government to save the democracy when we had to do it. We didn't fear and we will not fear. We will keep on doing our job as it should be for the population. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, time is running. I will fail into my duty if I do not say a few words on my constituency number 17, Kuapip Midlands. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I have tried my best, along with Honorable Adrien Duval, our Tijo in Kuapip, and even with Honorable Toussaint, I do agree that we went. At least I tried my best, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, to be there during rough and tough times, and also during bright days. I tried through several PQs, adjournment times, during my intervention in this August Assembly, raise matters concerning my constituency, but I have a long list. Unfortunately, I will not be able to give the list, but briefly, I would say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, be it when I am on this side of the House or being on the other side of the House when I was sitting next to Honorable Tarola and Honorable Raguba and Honorable Sisanka, we were together there. I never missed an opportunity to come up with matters concerning Cité Anushka, concerning squatters in Maleb, Dubreuil, problems of drains, Forum Market, traffic jam in the city center, bus sheds, infrastructure and amenities, drugs, law and order. The list is too long, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Hansard has them all. But nothing concrete, nothing sustainable, alas, has been done for Kuapip. Kuapip Midlands est resté l'enfant pauvre du budget, Monsieur le Vice-président. Except from some social centers, the town hall is being renovated, and this town hall renovation scheme was there since Honorable Xavier Duval was Minister of Finance. Some drains here and there, fencing of lighting here and there. And the budget this time says that there will be a gymnasium. I don't know, it is written there will be a gymnasium. There will be a gymnasium or outdoor open-air gymnasium in Kuapip. I don't know where. If all my friends are asking, where is the swimming pool? Where's? So forget about that gymnasium. How can we do an open-air gym in Kuapip? Anyway, I don't know who gave this idea of doing an open, if it is not a gym. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, let's stop selling dreams with people in Kuapip. It will not come. Swimming pool. I think I need to, Honorable Sudan is here. I was just, while drafting my speech, I was thinking maybe I ought to go to New York and get some resources over there. Maybe then, maybe
Shake, with the shake.
with the shake, maybe then, maybe some few things can be materialized in my constitution. Yes. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would conclude by saying that this budget is a budget qui fait vendre des rêves. The budget seems to fulfill an elusive electoral ambition. With this budget, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we are creating a country that lives beyond its means. For us, PMSD, we resume this budget as du recyclé, réchauffé et raté. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.